everyone, this is Dr. Jeannie Bertoli, creator of Ending Divorce Trauma for Kids, the 20 Crucial Do's and Don'ts for Parenting Through Divorce. So as most of you know, if not all of you know, kids of divorce grow up with all kinds of disadvantages statistically, and I am, and many other people are trying to change that, trying to shift that to not be such a big deal. That it's not the divorce, it's my belief that it's not actually the divorce that's the problem, but it's the way we handle divorce in this country and in our individual families that I think is responsible for most of the drama and trauma and impacts that you see in all the statistics, which I'm not going to go over because I don't even want to plant them in your head. But the research shows all kinds of challenges for adult children of divorce as they enter adulthood and try to come into well-being. So I wanted to talk to you today about the 3 most important things that adult children of divorce tell us. They tell us about how things they wish were different. So there are 3 things. The first is proximity. They wish en masse that their parents lived closer to one another or lived close to one another. There's just an inevitability that the schlepping back and forth between the houses is left to the kids. That there are a lot of hassles. The hassles that come with divorce are just inevitably the children's. All the ball games and how someone feels about this schedule, or most importantly, it's the going back and forth between the houses, though, to be honest with you. It's that back and forth, and then, well, what if I want to do this social occasion, and how does that shift that, and having stuff in both places, and remembering to take the history book back from dads to moms, and all of that kind of hassle. All the hassle tends to fall to the kids. So they wish that their parents lived closer to one another. I think you can probably understand why. It's probably kind of inherent. But too many parents I know don't really factor that in, that you might be a little more comfortable if you were at more of a distance, but that means it's exponentially more uncomfortable for your children. If you can live in a distance where they can walk, where they can bike, where they can eventually drive back and forth, well, driving obviously is easier, but the walking and biking, it means that if something gets forgotten, they can go back to the other person's house. It means that it just in time, it's not that big of a deal. I had someone in my family who got divorced, and he lived 3 hours from his daughter then after the divorce. So that meant that every other weekend when he had his daughter, he had to drive 3 hours, pick her up, drive 3 hours back, then drive 3 hours and drive 3 hours. This is a hassle, and it's frankly makes it more likely that that parent will become increasingly distant, see their kid less. Also, the incidental contacts of just, hey, I feel like seeing you tonight. Do you want to grab dinner? Or you have that ball game? I'd love to drop by. If you are not relatively close, it's going to frankly just decrease the amount of time you see your kids. So for their sake and for yours, for the sake of this relationship, which is a crucial relationship, live close to one another. Even if that causes you a little bit of discomfort, work around it. Figure out other ways. You don't need to go to the same grocery store necessarily, or don't go when your ex goes. Figure out some workarounds in terms of your own discomfort, but live close to each other. Proximity is number 1. Okay? Proximity is number 1. Number 2 is civility. Probably, again, not a surprise. Too many parents of divorce are not civil with each other. They're not kind to one another, and that is absolutely telegraphed to your children. If you are angry with, done with, annoyed with, over your ex, that it ekes out of you in your communication about your spouse, to your ex-spouse, toward your children. They pick up on it whether you are trying not to or not. They pick up on it. So to the degree that's possible, please be really conscientious about being civil. And I guess what I'm saying is not just in terms of your languaging, not just in terms of saying, yes, I'm really glad that you're close to your mom. Yes, I'm really happy that you're spending more time with your dad, and I can see that that's making a difference. That matters, but I'm talking about even in your heart. You may see that I did another video on bringing closure to the marital relationship, and that's what I'm talking about. The more you can resolve those marital issues either with them or without them, but bring closure to that time and that chapter in that relationship and starting a new relationship with this ex. The more you can truly feel civilly about the ex, about the I call them the co-parent, the more you can feel that civility. Whatever you truly feel is what comes out subconsciously. It just comes out. So if you really hate them, I'd suggest that you work on that so that you can come to, I'm not talking about friendship. I'm not talking, that'd be great, but you don't have to have that. Just basic civility that you would expect in terms of kind of parlor behavior in old world language. Like, I can cross the parlor. I can talk to you. It's okay. I'm not affected. I'm okay. It doesn't have to be a deep thing or how I really feel. Although I guess I am saying keep how you really feel to that superficial level, which is co-parenting and civility, and not think that much about the rest of their lives or about them outside of that. Stop letting yourself kind of go to those places over time of, well, I can't believe that happened in our marriage, or I can't believe he's dating her, or I can't believe she's with that guy again. Doesn't she know he's no good for blah, 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 blah. The more you can just narrow the field of vision of that whole relationship to what's in the best interest of our kids, how can we collaborate, how can we strategize together to solve these particular issues, so you stay focused on the issues and not the relationship. Narrow to the issues. So number 1 was proximity, live close to each other. Number 2 is civility, be as kind and civil as possible to each other so that you can co-parent well together. And then the third is to give overt permission for them to love the other parent. And I kind of touched on that in number 2, but to be just overt about that. Simply say things like, wow, I can tell that it matters to you that you and your mom are getting along better. I'm really happy for you. Or, your dad's a really great guy. I'm so glad he showed up for you in that way. That you can feel that I truly feel it. And kids can tell if you're lying. They really can. So if your words and your vibe, your attitude don't align, they will not believe you. They will believe your vibe and they will not believe your words. And it's just not a dynamic you want to set up because they're not going to believe you going forward. So you want them to believe you, obviously. So give them that overt permission. Hopefully you are truly happy that they have a great relationship with your co. You know that it is in your children's best interest to love both of their parents. If this is a biological child, they are biologically both of you. They cannot turn from that part of themselves and feel good about that. They need both of you. They need both of you. And it's not about, so then you see what happens is it's not about you, the adult. It's about the focus being on, wow, you need your dad. Yeah, you need your mom. I'm glad you guys are working on that relationship. I really am, because I know they need it. He or she needs it. So of course that's what I want, because it's not about me anymore. Again, if you have any thoughts about the closure of that relationship, if you have lingering emotions, go to the closure video. So those are the 3 things that adult children who divorce really wish that parents who are divorcing present day will take into account, because it's what they wish they had had. Proximity, civility, and overt permission to love the other parent. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you for all the work and the devotion you have to your children and divorcing better. We need you as a society. Your children need you. We need to do this better. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Until I see you again, blessings.